Welcome to Starry Nights and Moonlight Love, a tale woven from the quiet whispers of the night sky and the timeless beauty of love. This story invites you to step into a world where every starlit evening tells a secret, where every soft breeze carries a promise, and where two souls find each other beneath the gentle glow of the moon. Through Lena, a passionate artist who paints the world with her heart, and Aaron, a traveler carrying stories of distant lands, we journey into a romance that blooms under the stars. Each chapter is designed to immerse you in moments of connection, longing, and discovery, reminding us that love often begins in the simplest gestures and quietest places. As you read, let the starlit nights guide you, let the moonlight warm your soul, and allow yourself to be carried away by the emotions of this story. If you enjoy this journey, don't forget to share your thoughts, leave a comment, and subscribe for more heartwarming stories under the stars. Your support keeps these stories alive and helps us continue creating new chapters filled with love and wonder. The night spread over the quiet village like a velvet cloth scattered with diamonds. The stars twinkled, and the cool breeze carried the soft scent of blooming jasmine. Along the cobblestone path, lanterns flickered, casting a warm glow on the wooden houses. Lena, a young artist known for her delicate watercolor paintings, sat outside her small studio. Her fingers, stained with blue and silver paint, traced the night sky onto a fresh canvas. Each brushstroke mirrored the sparkle of the stars above. She loved painting under the open sky, believing the night held whispers of forgotten stories. As she tilted her head to examine her work, her gaze caught a distant figure walking along the path. A tall man with a traveler's cloak approached slowly, his presence calm yet mysterious. He paused as though the stars themselves had told him to. Lena lowered her brush, curious but cautious, sensing something unusual about this stranger's quiet aura. The stranger stopped a few feet from Lena, glancing at her canvas with quiet admiration. His eyes, reflecting the starlight, seemed warm yet unreadable. Lena hesitated before speaking, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you like the stars, too?" she asked, surprised at her own curiosity. Aaron, the traveler, gave a soft smile. "They're the same everywhere I go. But tonight they seem brighter," he said, his voice deep and gentle. His words lingered like the soft hum of the night wind. Lena shifted slightly, feeling a strange sense of comfort in his presence. She set her brush down, suddenly aware of the paint smudges on her fingers. Aaron's gaze returned to her canvas. "You paint them well," he remarked. A blush crept across Lena's face. Compliments from strangers were rare in this quiet village. She offered him a seat on the bench beside her. The silence between them settled softly, like the night air around them. Lena glanced upward, letting her eyes trace the stars. "Each star feels like a story waiting to be told," she murmured. Aaron followed her gaze, his eyes narrowing slightly as if searching for something hidden in the sky. "When I was a boy," he said quietly, "my father told me that the stars guide travelers home. I've been looking for mine ever since." Lena smiled faintly. "Maybe home is a person," she suggested, her tone light but thoughtful. Aaron looked at her, caught off guard by her words. He noticed the delicate lines of paint on her hands and the softness of her expression. It made him wonder what kind of world she painted for herself. The wind picked up slightly, rustling through the trees. Lena shivered and adjusted her shawl. Without thinking, Aaron offered his cloak. She hesitated but accepted it, feeling the warmth of a stranger's kindness. Curiosity gleamed in Lena's eyes as she studied the man beside her. "Where have you come from?" she asked, dipping her brush into silver paint without looking at the canvas. Aaron paused, his gaze wandering to the horizon. "Everywhere and nowhere," he replied, his voice carrying a distant tone. "I've crossed deserts where the sands burn under the sun, sailed seas where the moonlight turns the waves into silver." Lena's lips parted slightly, captivated by the imagery his words painted. "Do you paint too?" she teased, smiling softly. "Eren," the sound warm and unexpected. "No, I tell stories. But maybe that's a kind of painting, isn't it?" Her heart stirred. This stranger seemed like a puzzle of distant lands and quiet mysteries. She added another brushstroke to the night sky, glancing at him from the corner of her eye. Words faded, replaced by the quiet hum of the night. Lena and Eren sat together, neither needing to fill the silence. The stars stretched endlessly above them, glowing brighter as the moon rose higher. Eren leaned back, resting his elbows on the bench, his eyes fixed on the constellations. Thoughtful. "That one," he said softly, pointing to a cluster of stars. "Reminds me of the mountains I crossed last winter." Lena tilted her head, following his hand. "Ha, I always thought it looked like a dancer," she replied with a smile. Their interpretations collided, and they laughed quietly, the sound blending with the chirping crickets nearby. Lena picked up her brush again, sketching the stars he pointed out. Playfully, "Maybe tonight I'll paint your mountains and my dancer side by side," she said playfully. Eren's lips curved into a smile, his expression gentler than before. A sudden streak of light cut across the sky, leaving a glowing trail that made Lena gasp. "A falling star!" she exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder. Eren glanced up, watching it fade into the dark horizon. "Make a wish," he said, his voice carrying an almost childlike sincerity. Lena closed her eyes for a brief moment. When she opened them, her cheeks held a faint blush. "I can't tell you my wish," she teased. "Then it won't come true." Eren chuckled, resting his chin on his hand as he studied her. There was something enchanting about her presence, as though she belonged to the night itself. "What about you?" she asked. "Did you wish?" He smiled faintly. "I don't need to. I think I've already found something worth more than wishes tonight." The words caught her off guard, leaving her unable to respond. The moment was interrupted by the distant sound of a bell ringing from the village clock tower, marking midnight. Lena startled slightly, realizing how late it had become. "I should go," she said, glancing at the window of her small home nearby. Eren rose from the bench, his tall figure silhouetted against the moonlight. "Thank you," he said, "for sharing the stars with me tonight." Lena gathered her brushes and canvas, feeling an unexpected warmth in her chest. "Will you be here tomorrow?" she asked, her tone hesitant but hopeful. Eren's lips curved into a gentle smile. "If the stars allow, I will." She nodded, clutching her canvas as she walked toward her home, her heart beating faster than usual. Inside her small studio, Lena placed the canvas on her easel and sat by the window. The night breeze still carried the scent of jasmine, and the stars outside seemed brighter than before. She traced the outlines of the constellations on her painting, but her mind was no longer on the canvas. Eren's voice lingered in her thoughts, his stories of deserts and seas, the warmth of his smile, the way his eyes reflected the stars. She found herself wondering who he really was, and why his presence felt so familiar, like a melody she'd forgotten but somehow remembered when hearing again. She leaned on the windowsill, gazing toward the path where they had met. A faint hope stirred in her heart, and "Will he come back?" Her words were carried away by the wind, as if the night itself was listening. Meanwhile, Eren sat in a small inn at the edge of the village. His cloak hung by the door, and his leather satchel rested on the wooden table before him. He poured himself a cup of warm tea, his mind replaying the evening. He had crossed countless towns, spoken to countless people, yet none had held his attention as Lena did tonight. There was something in her eyes, quiet, observant, as though she saw the world's beauty in every detail. He found himself smiling unconsciously as he stared at the flickering candlelight. Aaron pulled out a worn notebook from his satchel. He began to jot down small details: the lanterns, the scent of jasmine, her hands stained with paint. As he wrote, he felt a rare peace, as though the road had finally led him somewhere worth staying, at least for a while. The village fell silent as the moon reached its highest point. Lena lay on her bed but couldn't sleep. She rose again, stepping outside into the cool night. The stars stretched like a glowing tapestry. Promises only dreamers could hear. Somewhere across the village, Aaron stepped out of the inn and looked up at the same sky. Though they were apart, both felt an inexplicable connection, as if the stars themselves were weaving their paths together. Lena picked up her sketchbook and began drawing by moonlight, a silhouette of the mysterious traveler under a starry sky. At the same time, Aaron, gazing upward, murmured softly, "I'll see her again." The night air carried both their quiet wishes, merging them with the endless expanse of the heavens. The next evening, Lena returned to her usual spot with her easel, unsure if Aaron would appear again. She tried focusing on painting the deep hues of twilight blending into the starry sky. The lantern by her side flickered gently, adding warmth to the cool night air. Footsteps echoed on the cobblestone path. She turned slightly and found Aaron approaching, the same gentle expression on his face. Relief and quiet joy bloomed inside her. "You're here," she said, almost as if she doubted her eyes. "I said I would be," Aaron replied, taking a seat near her. He placed his satchel on the bench and leaned forward to look at her painting. "You've captured the night perfectly, as if you stole its light." Lena laughed lightly, the sound blending with the chirping of distant crickets. "It's the star's secret," she said, her cheeks pink. As the stars brightened above, Aaron began recounting tales from his journeys. He described deserts that shimmered like gold at dusk, and forests where moonlight danced on leaves. His voice carried a tone of wonder and longing, making Lena feel as though she were there, walking alongside him. "You've seen so much," she whispered, captivated. "My world is just this village and my paints. Your world is as vast as mine," Aaron replied, his eyes fixed on her canvas. "You bring places to life with colors I could never find." Lena paused, surprised by his sincerity. Few had ever seen her art as anything more than a hobby. She felt her heart swell, touched by his words. The connection between them deepened, woven from starlight and quiet conversation. Lena glanced at Aaron, an idea forming in her mind. Sternly, "Stay still," she said suddenly, holding her brush like a sword ready for battle. Aaron blinked, confused. "You're going to be in this painting," she explained, her lips curling into a playful smile. Aaron laughed softly, a sound like a quiet breeze. "I've never had anyone paint me before," he admitted. "Then tonight will be a first," she said, focusing on the curve of his jaw and the way his hair caught the faint glow of lantern light. Her brush moved swiftly, capturing him against the backdrop of the stars. He watched her silently, noticing the determination in her eyes. It felt strange and comforting to be seen this closely, as if she were reading parts of his soul he never shared.
As she painted, Aaron suddenly asked, "Why do you paint the night so often?" Lena hesitated, her brush pausing mid-stroke. "Because the night feels alive," she answered softly. "It's when I feel most like myself, as if the stars listen when no one else does." Aaron leaned slightly closer, his voice low. "Then tonight, the stars are listening to both of us." Her heart skipped a beat at the way his words carried warmth and unspoken meaning. She lowered her brush and looked at him, their eyes meeting under the soft glow of moonlight. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. They shifted to sit side by side on the bench, both gazing at the sky. "If you could go anywhere, where would it be?" Aaron asked. Lena thought for a moment, then smiled. "A hill beyond this village. I've always wanted to see how the stars look from there. They must feel closer." Aaron tilted his head, intrigued. "Then I'll take you there one day." Lena's eyes widened slightly, warmth rushing to her cheeks. "You don't even know me," she said, laughing nervously. "Maybe I want to," he replied, his tone serious but gentle. Their conversation drifted to dreams, travels, and childhood memories. The connection between them deepened with every word, as though the stars above were tying invisible threads between their hearts. The cricket's gentle chorus filled the silence between their conversations. Lena tilted her head, closing her eyes to listen. "The night is singing tonight," she whispered. Aaron, his gaze softening as he watched her. "I don't hear it." "That's because you're not listening closely enough," she teased. "The wind, the trees, even the stars, they have their own melodies." Curious, Aaron closed his eyes as she had. For a moment, he felt the rhythm of the night around them, from the distant call of an owl to the rustle of leaves. "I hear it now," he said, his voice low, almost reverent. When Lena opened her eyes, she found him watching her. A faint smile curved her lips, as if the stars themselves approved of this quiet moment between them. As Aaron opened his eyes, Lena accidentally smudged a bit of blue paint on her cheek while adjusting her brush. He laughed quietly, pointing it out. "There's something on your face," he said. Lena blinked, trying to wipe it off, which only made the smudge worse, annoyed. "Oh no," she muttered, pouting. Aaron, unable to hold back a grin, reached out gently. "Here, let me." His thumb brushed her cheek, leaving her frozen for a moment as his touch lingered. Their eyes locked, and the world seemed to pause. She laughed shyly, pulling back slightly. "You're better with words than paint," she said, trying to hide the warmth rushing to her face. Their laughter softened into silence, replaced by a calm stillness. Aaron leaned back, his gaze fixed on the stars. "One day, I want to stop wandering," he said quietly. "Find a place that feels like home." Lena tilted her head, her curiosity piqued. "And what would that place look like?" He looked at her for a long moment before answering. "I'm not sure. Maybe it's not a place, but a person." His words carried a weight that made Lena's heart skip a beat. She didn't know what to say, so she returned her gaze to the sky, feeling a quiet warmth between them, something unspoken yet deeply understood. The night grew colder, and Lena wrapped her shawl tightly around her shoulders. "I should head back soon," she said softly, almost reluctant to end the evening. Aaron stood and offered his hand, helping her gather her brushes and canvas. "Will I see you again tomorrow?" he asked, his voice hopeful but calm. Lena hesitated for a heartbeat before nodding. "Yes, here, under the stars." As she turned to leave, Aaron walked with her halfway down the path, neither speaking, both simply enjoying the quiet sound of footsteps and the cool night breeze. Later that night, Lena sat by her window, finishing the portrait she had started of Aaron. Every brush stroke felt intimate, capturing not just his features, but the warmth of his smile and the depth of his eyes. Across the village, Aaron stood outside the inn, looking up at the same stars. He thought of Lena, the way she painted with such devotion, the way her laughter sounded like the wind chimes he'd once heard by the sea. Though separated by distance, their hearts were united under the same starry sky, both silently wishing for tomorrow's meeting. The next night the village glowed under a brilliant full moon. Lena walked to her usual spot by the bench, holding her canvas close. She felt her heart racing, wondering if Serene would come. The air was cool and still, the lanterns swaying gently with the breeze. Serene appeared from the shadows, his cloak brushing against the cobblestones. He gave her a warm smile that melted away all her hesitation. "You're here," he said. "I told you I would be," Lena replied, her voice calm yet hiding the excitement bubbling within. They sat side by side on the bench. The moonlight was so bright that they barely needed lanterns. Lena set her canvas aside, deciding tonight was less about painting and more about simply being present with him. The silence between them was peaceful, but Lena's heart was restless. She clasped her hands on her lap, stealing glances at Serene. His eyes were fixed on the moon, yet his presence felt close and unshakable. "Serene," she began, "why do you travel alone?" He turned to her, a faint shadow crossing his face. "Because I've always been searching for something, or someone. I didn't know what it was until now." Her breath caught in her throat. The intensity of his gaze was enough to make her look away, her cheeks heating. "What do you mean?" she whispered. He didn't answer immediately, but the way his hand brushed lightly against hers on the bench said enough. The moonlight bathed them both in a silvery glow, making the moment feel almost unreal. Lena turned her gaze skyward to avoid his eyes, focusing on the constellation she'd painted countless times. "The stars seem closer tonight," she murmured, her voice trembling slightly. "Or maybe we're closer," Serene replied, his tone soft but unwavering. Lena's fingers twitched on her lap. She could feel her heartbeat echoing in her ears, loud and unrelenting. Slowly, she turned back toward him, her eyes searching for reassurance. Instead, she found warmth, and something she hadn't dared to name. The world around them was silent, except for the faint hum of night creatures. It felt as though time had stopped, the universe waiting for her answer. Serene's hand moved slowly, brushing the back of Lena's hand before resting over it. His touch was warm, grounding her in a moment that felt like a dream. Lena's breath hitched as she looked down at their joined hands. She hadn't realized how much she wanted this closeness until now. "You don't have to be afraid," Serene said quietly, his thumb tracing circles over her skin. "Sometimes the stars bring two people together for a reason." Her heart fluttered at his words. For a moment she closed her eyes, allowing the feeling to wash over her, the warmth of his hand, the scent of night air, and the realization that something in her life was about to change forever. "I want to remember this night," Lena said suddenly, her voice trembling but determined. She reached for her canvas and brush, the fresh strokes capturing the moon above and the silhouette of the man beside her. Serene tilted his head, watching her work with quiet admiration. "You're painting us?" he asked, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Yes," she replied, focusing intently on the canvas. Thoughtful. "This might be the most beautiful night I've ever seen." He chuckled, his voice a low hum that sent shivers down her spine. Chuckles. "Then I'm honored to be part of it." As she painted, their silence was not empty, but filled with the unspoken feelings growing between them. Lena put down her brush, the painting nearly complete. The moonlight on the canvas reflected the same glow that surrounded them. She glanced at Erin, who was watching her with quiet intensity. "Why do you look at me like that?" she asked softly, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. Erin leaned forward slightly, his gaze unwavering. "Because I want to remember you exactly as you are, right now. The stars might fade, the road might change, but I want this moment to stay with me forever." Her heart skipped a beat. She lowered her eyes, feeling the warmth rise to her cheeks. His words were simple, but they carried an honesty that stirred something deep within her. The night air grew still, heavy with anticipation. Erin's hand slowly reached for Lena's, fingers curling gently around hers. He moved closer, their faces now inches apart, their breaths mingling under the glow of the moon. Lena's heart pounded as her eyes fluttered shut for a moment, but she pulled back slightly, uncertainty crossing her face.
"Erin,"
she whispered, unsure if she was ready for what she felt. He didn't press further, his voice calm and reassuring. "I'm not going anywhere," he said, his thumb brushing the back of her hand. "I'll wait until you're ready." Lena exhaled, relief and longing mixing in her chest. She gave him a small, grateful smile, her heart softening even more. The mood lightened as Lena spoke again, her voice soft. "I've never told anyone this, but I used to dream of traveling beyond the village. I thought maybe the stars could lead me somewhere new." Erin smiled, his gaze distant as though recalling a memory. "Huckles, you're braver than you think. Sometimes staying in one place takes more courage than leaving." She tilted her head, curious. "Curious. Do you ever get lonely out there, on the road?" Erin's smile faded slightly. "Sad. All the time. But tonight, for the first time, I don't feel lonely at all." Her chest tightened at his words, and for a brief moment, she wondered if the stars had brought him here just for her. Erin finally turned to face her fully, his eyes intense but gentle. "Lena, I've met many people, seen many places, but none have stayed with me the way you have in just a few nights." Her breath caught, her pulse racing as he continued. "I don't know what the stars planned when they crossed our paths, but I don't want to leave this village without telling you how I feel." The words hit her like a warm breeze. Lena's hand trembled slightly as she whispered, "Erin, I feel it too." The distance between them closed naturally, both drawn into a moment of honesty and connection that felt timeless. Erin reached out, slowly, as if afraid the moment would vanish. Lena moved toward him at the same time, their arms wrapping around each other in a quiet, gentle embrace. The stars above seemed brighter, the moon glowing like a silent witness to their connection. Lena rested her head against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. "I don't know what tomorrow brings," Erin murmured into her hair, "but I know I want to see it with you." Lena smiled, closing her eyes, letting the warmth of his words settle into her soul. For the first time, she felt as though the night was not just a canvas to paint, but a promise of something more. The days after their confession were filled with quiet happiness. But tonight, Lena sensed something was different. The stars still shimmered above, yet the air carried a heaviness she couldn't ignore. She set up her easel by the bench, waiting for Erin. Minutes passed, and he didn't arrive as promptly as usual. A wave of unease washed over her, her heart tightening with worry. When footsteps finally approached, Erin's face looked tense, his usual calm expression replaced by something guarded. "Lena," he said softly, avoiding her eyes. "What's wrong?" she asked, setting her brush aside. "There's someone from the city here," he murmured. "They're looking for me." I think I might have to leave. Lena's heart sank. The joy that had grown between them now felt fragile, as though one wrong breeze could shatter it. Leave, Lena repeated, her voice trembling. You just got here, Aaron. Why would someone be looking for you? Aaron sighed deeply, his shoulders slumping. There are things about my past I haven't told you. I wasn't always a traveler by choice. Lena stepped closer, searching his eyes. You don't have to tell me everything. But don't disappear without saying goodbye. I don't want to leave, he said firmly, his voice low. But I can't put you in danger. Danger? Her breath hitched, fear mixing with confusion. Aaron, I don't care about danger. I care about you. The tension between them grew like a storm on the horizon, neither knowing how to bridge the gap. Unable to speak further, Aaron gestured for Lena to walk with him down the quiet path. The village was asleep, the lanterns flickering faintly as they walked side by side in silence. Lena hugged herself, feeling the chill of the night creep in. She wanted to ask more questions, but the look on Aaron's face stopped her. His expression was distant, as if he were carrying the weight of countless memories. When they reached the edge of the village, Aaron finally stopped. This is where I first arrived, he said. I didn't expect to stay, but then I met you. Her heart ached at his words. She reached out, touching his arm gently. Then stay, she said. Stay, even if it's just for one more night. As they walked back, a shadowy figure appeared at the far end of the street. The man was dressed in dark city attire, his gaze sharp as he scanned the area. Aaron stiffened immediately. Is that him? Lena whispered. Aaron nodded slightly, his jaw tightening. Don't say anything. Just stay behind me. The stranger's eyes landed on them, and he began walking closer. Aaron, the man called out, his voice cold and commanding. Lena clutched Aaron's arm, her heart pounding. She didn't understand what was happening, but could feel the danger in the man's tone. Stay here, Aaron said to her quietly, stepping forward. I need to deal with this. Aaron, you can't keep running forever, the stranger said, his tone icy but firm. Come back and face what you've left behind. Aaron's expression hardened. I left for a reason. I won't go back. Lena's heart thudded in her chest as she watched them. Who was this man? Why did he speak as if Aaron had a past too heavy to ignore? Who is she? The stranger asked, glancing at Lena. You're putting her in danger too. Leave her out of this, Aaron snapped, his voice sharp enough to make Lena flinch. He softened slightly when he looked at her, silently apologizing for his tone. The stranger's gaze shifted between Aaron and Lena, his expression unreadable. You know what will happen if you stay, the man warned. Aaron took a firm step closer, his cloak brushing against the cobblestones. I don't care. I'm not leaving her alone in this. Lena's breath caught. Her heart pounded as she realized Aaron was willing to defy this man for her. Aaron, she whispered, gripping his sleeve. He turned slightly, his hand brushing hers. I promised I wouldn't run anymore, he said, his tone softer now. Not from what matters most. The stranger's lips curled into a thin smile. We'll see if you can keep that promise. With that, the man stepped back into the shadows, disappearing as quietly as he had come.
When the stranger vanished, the tension finally broke. Lena's knees felt weak, and she sat on the bench, her hands trembling. Aaron knelt in front of her, his expression filled with guilt. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't want you to see this side of me." She shook her head quickly. "Don't apologize. Just tell me the truth. Who was he?" Aaron hesitated, his eyes dark with memories. "Someone from my past. I made choices I regret, and he wants me to pay for them." Lena reached for his hands, gripping them tightly. "Whatever it is, you don't have to face it alone anymore." His heart ached at her words, and he lowered his head, unable to hide his emotions. Lena sat back, her mind swirling. "Will he come back?" she asked, her voice shaking slightly. Aaron's gaze was steady, but his words were heavy. "Maybe, and if he does, I don't want you caught in the middle." She frowned. "You think I'd just walk away from you now?" Her tone was sharper than she intended, but the thought of losing him hurt too deeply. Aaron sighed, a mix of frustration and longing in his expression. "I don't want to hurt you, Lena. I'm not sure I deserve you." She reached out, gently touching his cheek. "You don't have to deserve love, Aaron. You just have to accept it." Her words left him speechless, his heart pounding as he realized how deeply she believed in him. The tension melted off. Aaron pulled Lena close, wrapping his arms around her as though afraid she might slip away. She buried her face against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "Don't push me away," she whispered, her voice muffled. "I won't," he replied, holding her tighter. "Not now, not ever." The stars above seemed to shimmer brighter, as if they too bore witness to this fragile yet powerful promise. The world around them fell silent, no wind, no crickets, just the sound of two hearts beating in unison. Lena closed her eyes, soaking in the warmth and safety of his embrace, even as uncertainty lingered on the horizon. As the night wore on, Aaron pulled back slightly, his hands still resting on Lena's shoulders. "If he comes back, I'll face him, but I want you to stay safe. Promise me." Lena shook her head stubbornly. "I won't hide while you fight your battles. I want to be there, even if it's just by your side." He looked at her, torn between fear and admiration. "You're braver than I could ever be," he murmured. Lena smiled faintly. "Then let's face whatever comes, together." The words hung between them like a vow, sealed by the glow of the stars. Both knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, neither of them felt alone. The following evening, the village bathed under a golden twilight. Lena prepared her brushes, but tonight, her heart was less focused on painting and more on what the future held. When Aaron arrived, his usual tension was replaced with a quiet determination. "I've made a decision," he said as he approached. "I'm not running anymore. I want to build something real, here, with you." Lena's breath caught, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched her canvas. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Even if your past finds you." He reached out, taking her hands into his. "Whatever comes, I want to face it with you. If I've learned anything, it's that home isn't a place, it's a feeling, and I feel it with you." Her eyes shimmered under the fading sunlight, her heart filling with warmth. They decided to walk through the village, hand in hand. The evening lanterns were being lit, their soft glow reflecting off the cobblestone streets. Children's laughter echoed faintly in the distance as the air turned cool. "People will start talking," Lena teased, glancing around. "The mysterious traveler and the village artist?" Aaron chuckled, his thumb brushing over her hand. "Let them talk. Maybe they'll paint our story into the stars." Lena smiled, her cheeks glowing under the lantern light. Every step beside him felt lighter, as though the shadows of the past were losing their hold on him. As they passed her favorite bakery, she paused, leaning against him. "Tomorrow, I want to show you something. My secret hill, the one I always dreamed of visiting at night." Aaron nodded, his lips curving into a soft smile. "I'll follow wherever you lead." The following night, Lena led Aaron beyond the village, up a grassy hill she'd often admired from afar. The climb was quiet, the sound of their footsteps blending with the whispers of the night breeze. When they reached the top, Aaron stopped, his breath catching. The view stretched endlessly, a sea of stars overhead and the village glowing softly below. "This is where I've always wanted to paint," Lena said, setting down her canvas. "It feels like the sky is closer here," Aaron smiled, gazing not at the stars, but at her. "It's beautiful," he said, though his tone made it clear he wasn't just talking about the view. Lena's heart raced as she set up her easel, but Aaron stepped closer, gently, resting his hand on her shoulder. "Paint later. For now, just templify for strifas. Be here." As the wind whispered through the grass, Lena laughed softly. "We should dance," she said, half joking. Aaron raised an eyebrow, a playful smile tugging at his lips. "I don't know how to dance." "Neither do I," she replied, reaching for his hands. "But who cares? No one's watching." He hesitated only a moment before taking her hands. They swayed under the moonlight, their movements unpolished but full of quiet joy. Lena's laughter echoed through the night, and Aaron found himself smiling wider than he had in years. "You're terrible at this," she teased, stepping on his foot. "And yet, I don't want to stop," he whispered back. They lay side by side on the grass, staring at the endless sky above. The stars seemed brighter, almost close enough to touch. "Do you think stars have memories?" Lena asked softly. "Maybe they remember every wish we've ever made." Aaron turned his head, watching her instead of the sky. "If they do, I hope they remember this moment." She smiled, feeling his gaze like warmth against her skin. "You'll make me cry if you keep talking like that." "Then I'll stop talking," he whispered, reaching for her hand. The simple gesture felt like a vow, unspoken but undeniable. The night stretched on, but neither of them wanted to leave the hilltop. The cool night breeze played with Lena's hair as she gazed at the stars. Aaron turned to her, his eyes filled with quiet determination. "Lena, I don't know what the future holds, but I know this: I want to spend every night under the stars with you." Her heart skipped a beat. "Aaron," she whispered, her voice trembling as emotion swelled inside her. He reached into his satchel and pulled out a simple silver pendant, worn but polished. "This was my mother's," he said. "I've carried it on every journey, but tonight I want you to have it. You're my safe place now." Lena's eyes filled with tears as she accepted the pendant, her fingers brushing against his. "I'll treasure it," she promised, "just like I treasure you." Just as the moment felt eternal, dark clouds rolled in, covering the stars. A sudden gust of wind whipped through the grass, and distant thunder rumbled. Lena stood quickly, clutching her canvas and the pendant. "We need to get back to the village," she said, glancing nervously at the darkening horizon. Aaron grabbed her hand, and together they raced down the hill as raindrops began to fall. The storm's sudden arrival made their path slippery, but he held her close, guiding her through the shadows. By the time they reached the bench where they had spent so many nights, the rain was pouring. Aaron pulled off his cloak and wrapped it around her, shielding her from the worst of the downpour. They found shelter in an old wooden gazebo near the village square, both soaked but laughing breathlessly. "You're dripping paint," Aaron said with a grin, pointing at the streaks of blue on her cheek where raindrops had smeared her work. Lena laughed, shaking her head. "And you look like a wet stray dog," she teased, wringing out her braid. Despite the storm, the warmth between them was undeniable. Aaron took her hand, holding it between his palms to warm her fingers. "Even if the stars are hidden tonight, I don't need them," he murmured. "I have you." Lena's breath caught, and for a moment the world outside the gazebo didn't matter, only the closeness they shared. The rain outside softened to a drizzle, and the night grew quiet. Aaron's hand lingered on Lena's cheek, brushing a wet strand of hair away. "I don't want to waste another second," he said softly. Her breath trembled as she looked up at him, her heart pounding like the fading storm. Without another word, he leaned in, and their lips met in a tender, lingering kiss. The world seemed to stop, the rain, the night, even the stars hidden behind the clouds. All that existed was the warmth between them, the connection they had both been waiting for. When they finally pulled away, Lena's cheeks flushed pink despite the chill. "I think the stars would be jealous," she whispered with a shy smile. By the time they stepped out of the gazebo, the clouds had parted, revealing a brilliant sky. The stars sparkled as if celebrating their love, and the full moon bathed them in a silver glow. Lena held the pendant tightly, her heart swelling. "Whatever comes next, I want us to remember this night," she said. Aaron smiled, his arm around her shoulders as they walked slowly toward the village. "This isn't the end, Lena. It's just the beginning of our story." They stopped at the hill's edge, gazing one last time at the star-filled sky. Under that eternal moonlight, they sealed their vow with one final kiss, a promise that no storm, past or shadow, could take away. Thank you for accompanying Lena and Aaron on their journey through Starry Nights and Moonlight Love. This story was written to capture the quiet beauty of love, a love that grows not in grand moments, but in gentle whispers under the stars, in shared silences, and in the warmth of two hearts finding each other amidst uncertainty. The stars and the moon have always been symbols of hope, connection, and eternity. Through Lena and Aaron, we explore how love can light even the darkest nights, how courage is born from vulnerability, and how every fleeting moment can become a memory worth cherishing when shared with someone who feels like home. I am deeply grateful for the chance to share this story with you. Every scene, every painting, and every whisper was crafted with care to create a world where emotions are painted as vividly as the night sky. As you close this chapter, I hope the story leaves you with a quiet warmth, a belief in love's enduring light, and a reminder to look up at the stars and dream. For somewhere, someone might be wishing upon the very same sky